Good morning. It's Steve here. It's June 24th, 2020. I'm in Casper, Wyoming. And today the topic's going to be imagination. So, Napoleon Hill says that the imagination is the workshop of the mind. So, boy, isn't that a great statement? The workshop of the mind. So, I want to talk today about possibilities. We're talking about the great human imagination, we're talking about anything is possible. So where something, imagination is an interesting word because the word image is in there. So the image, you can hold an image inside your mind of something that hasn't happened yet, and then when you mix in faith with it, then it can become a reality. So it's very interesting that imagination can create, you can create things in your own human imagination. Kids are really good with this. My granddaughter, Ava, she's about 5 years old, and her imagination, she can just instantly imagine whatever she chooses to, and she can play that part, and she can just she can imagine, even if she doesn't have a cup, if she's doing a tea party, she just imagines the cup, and in the same way, I think that's what that's what's meant when people say, become like a child. It's not to be childlike, like immature, childish. It's it's talking about using your wonderful imagination, the wonderful human imagination. You know, it's interesting that when you buy an original painting, you do know that it's a copy. First, it was seen inside the person's imagination before it became a reality on canvas. And your life can be the same way. I believe that if you take whatever it is that you're desiring in your life, and you imagine it, or you think on it, or you see yourself already in possession of it, and that is using your wonderful imagination. And a lot of people think that it's actually, it's when we say anything is possible, there is just no limit to what can happen in the imagination. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about imagination, they look at the bad, the part where the imagination is used in a negative sense, imagining the worst. I'd say probably the majority of people use their imagination in this way. They imagine themselves failing. They imagine the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen. And if you hold that image in your mind, and then and if you create emotional connections with that image, you can actually those things can come to happen. So sometimes, I'm not saying that we ignore things, but sometimes where your focus goes is where you set your imagination, and where your focus goes, and you imagine and use focus, those things will increase. So that image will increase. So, for example, my right knee hurts, and if I think about my right knee and how it hurts, and I focus on that, and I imagine that pain, it's amazing. It's like I start limping. It gets worse. When I'm not focused on that, I normally have very little issue with it. Now, I'm not saying that your body talks to you, and if you are in pain, there is a time when you need to focus on that. But what happens is, we sometimes use our imagination to create almost an invisible pain, or a pain that that's really not there, and we sort of create it in our own imagination, and then we focus on it, and then if there's an emotional connection set up with it, um, then that's the case where those pains will increase. And so I find that I've got some pain in my knee, but when I'm focused on when I keep my mind off of that, and I'm aware that it's there, but I don't constantly just pander to it, or focus, or imagine on it. It does take a little discipline, and it's the idea here is to keep your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want. So you can say, well, I've got this pain and I can't help it, but I'm here to say you can help it. You can keep your mind on other things, on what you want. So I want a strong knee. So I think and focus on my knee being strong, and without pain, and being stronger than it was before. And it's an interesting concept that we are given a lot of gifts, and I think the art of being grateful is really important. So being having an attitude of gratitude, or stating what you're grateful for, and just being alive. But we are being grateful for the gifts we were given. And a lot of people use that in the opposite way. They do the opposite of grateful. The opposite of being grateful is feeling sorry for yourself and complaining, and focusing on what's wrong nonstop all the time. And that can end up, you can end up with actually a completely miserable life. And I sure don't want to have a miserable life. And I choose to focus on what I'm grateful for. And one of the gifts that was given us at our birth was our complete control over our thinking, and I mean complete control. You can totally choose the way you think, and you can choose the way what goes in and what comes out of your imagination, and you can direct it. I mean, what's neat. Anything is possible, even going to the furthest stars. Right now, you can go to the furthest stars in your imagination. Anything is possible. It is such a wonderful, incredible gift that was given us. And like I said, like anything, it's if you don't use it, some people haven't used their imagination except for bad things in years. And when you were a kid, you used the imagination. When the 5-year-old kid is constantly using their imagination, and that is something that you can still do, and most of us do it without even realizing it. We think about things that we don't want to happen, and then we focus on that, and then it's amazing. It's like, why is this stuff that I don't want to happen keep happening? and it's because you're not directing your imagination, because it's going to work regardless as if you take control of it and actually utilize it or not. So I'm here to say that you have a human imagination. And it can be used and directed, and you can, and I suggest keeping your mind on what you want, and don't even think about what you don't think about the pain. Yes, if you got pain, you got to ask yourself, what can you do with it? I had a injury in my back, and I kept asking myself, what can I do about this? And one of the things that came to my mind is maybe I should go see a surgeon. But if you go see a surgeon's going to want to do surgery, and that's what they do. That's their job. And so I've been through a lot of surgeries, and I'm all for doctors. I mean, there's times when you need a surgery, and it's good, and it'll help you. But a lot of times I think surgeries can be avoided if you just find out what you can do. And so I injured my upper back. I had pain shooting between my shoulder blades. It felt like knives were being stabbed in my back between my shoulder blades. Every time I tried to bend over or lift anything, anything over about 20 pounds, it was just excruciating pain. And so I decided, I made a conscious decision and imagined that I wasn't going to have surgery, first of all. And then I just asked, what can I do? You know, sometimes you just have to say, what can I do? And then do what you can do. And so what I did is I went to, I went to therapists and massage therapy, electronic therapy. You know, I tried stretching. I tried all kinds of things, and it really nothing seemed to work. I mean, it got some of the stuff, the massage, it felt better, but it would always come back, and I'd still feel that pain. You know, and it was, and sometimes I'd wake up in the morning with this pain and everything. And one day I was listening to Les Brown, a motivational speaker, Les Brown, which he's wonderful. Anyway, he was talking about, he's up there in age, he's getting in his 60s, and he was talking about doing push-ups. And he was talking about how important it is to focus on your physical body, and that one of his friends that was pretty young, I think he was 42 years old, in really pretty good health, had a few issues, but just ended up having a heart attack and dying. And he kind of died with a lot of potential still left in him. And anyway, he was talking about doing push-ups, and I just had the idea. I thought, you know what, I think I can do push-ups. And so I was doing some, but not that many. And I decided to make a goal to do, at that time it was 500 push-ups a day. And I wanted to get up to 500 a day. So I got down and I could only do maybe 20. And it hurt really bad, my back hurt when I did these. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do this and strengthen those muscles back there. And for some reason, I just started I could do the push-ups, and every day I did a little bit more. And around Christmas time, I got up to 500 a day by Christmas, and this was in about 3 or 4 months. I started that last fall, and by Christmas I was up to 500 a day. And at Christmas I made a goal to do 1,000 a day. And about 2 months ago, so it's June, yeah, so it's about toward the middle of April, I achieved that goal of doing 1,000 a day, and I've been doing 1,000 a day every 7 days a week, every day since then. And the amazing thing is that the pain is completely gone. And it's not like I was focused on it. I mean, I definitely felt it, especially at first when I first started doing the push-ups, but the muscles or whatever built up, the healing process began, and it worked. And I'm sure I had torn something or broke something in between my shoulder blades that maybe surgery could have fixed. It wasn't necessary in my case. And I did what I could do, and I have no pain. I can do anything. I can lift stuff. I can lift heavy things. There's no limitations there. But that goes into the human imagination, and anything is possible. So I hope this is an encouragement to you today. I know that if you get a hold of this and really meditate on what your imagination is, and then realize that you do have control over it, and if you use it, it can bring you to the depths of despair or the heights of the joy of life. But it's totally up to you and how you use it. And so I want to say, just realize that you do have control, and that it is a wonderful thing. So use your imagination for good, and keep your mind on what you want and off what you don't want, and you're gonna find happiness and joy, and you're gonna reach your goals in this life. So thanks, and have a wonderful day. I'm gonna imagine that my day is gonna be just wonderful and great, and I'm grateful to be here. So I'm grateful to be able to come to you today, and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.